Nicholas Glover with the Tampa Bay Chamber. I want to thank and welcome our viewers tuning in to our 2023 candidate interview series for the City of Tampa City Council elections. The Chamber focuses on policy, not politics. And while we do not endorse, we do want to make sure that our members and the business community are informed on where these candidates stand on the issues most important to them. We are excited to have Mike Suarez running for City Council District 2 with us today. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
My pleasure, Nicholas. Appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. We are just under 60 days from Election Day. And now that we're in this final stretch, can you give the voters a brief update on your campaign and about what message you want to deliver to voters in the final stretch?
Thank you, first of all, to the Tampa Bay Chamber for letting me show up here and talk. One of the things that I want everyone to know, I just filed literally a week ago. First time that I've qualified in a short period of time. Typically, I have done, a couple months beforehand. I was dealing with some business issues. I could not make a commitment to doing it when earlier on, and decided to do it in January. We're doing very well. We're fundraising well. We have gotten our people together to try and get our message out. One of the great things about having already served on Tampa City Council is that I understand the kind of sprint that I'm in, and I know how to keep my gait and my stance well as I go forward. You're going to be seeing a lot more about us in the next few days, in the next couple of weeks, and I hope that you'll support me in District 2 citywide.
Thank you. What role, as you see it, Mike, is the role of City Council? And Mike, do you see that role potentially changing over the course of your term?
Good question, Nicholas. The three issues that I think that most people should understand about council is that, one, we are not only the voice of ourselves, but the voice of the people. It's one place where you can come to and actually communicate with us live and on TV every week. The second thing that's important is that as we represent you, it's not just about what our own ideas are. It's about coming to consensus among all the people that we represent. Especially being a citywide city council member, there are some issues that come before you that you have to make a choice at the moment, and you have to make sure that you stick by that choice and allow people to understand that you are reliable and trusty in terms of your vote. Thirdly, it is to make sure that when the mayor is doing right and it is the right thing for the city, and if you agree on it, you should tell her that is a good idea and I will support it. When it is a bad idea, and I believe that I've done this in the last administration, I think you should tell the mayor that we need to go in a different direction. It doesn't mean that you win, quote unquote. It doesn't mean that someone loses. It is about what that consensus is among your members on the council and your citizens. Unfortunately, too many people think that council is completely a counterbalance. It isn't. It is a process that we go through. The mayor's part of that process, as well as all the other 6 members that serve with you when you're on council. It is not about winning and losing a particular idea. It is about coming to consensus to run the city in the most efficient, the most effective way for our citizens.
You mentioned a variety of responsibilities of council, but approving the city's budget is one of council's biggest responsibilities, as you know. Some state and budget experts are anticipating potentially an easing of the economy or slowdown. How would you want the city to prioritize spending during that time period?
Well, you pointed out something very important, which is that vote, that last vote in September is always the most important one you do as a city council member. It's the one way that you have leverage in trying to get things done within the city, sometimes in disagreement with the mayor, sometimes in agreement with the mayor. We have been living the last 4 years, for better or worse, off of Biden bucks. The dollars that we've been getting from the federal government in order to make sure that we weathered the pandemic, rightfully so. However, we are going to be coming off that sugar high at some point, and we need to make sure that our priorities are straight. I'm one of the few people that voted against the budget the last time I served when Bob Buckhorn was mayor, because I did not see us managing our priority in terms of our debt and where we were going to put monies going forward. Bob Buckhorn had asked for a tax increase at that time, but without a defined way of spending that money. For me, the priorities are always about how do we improve the quality of life for people in different neighborhoods across the city. That includes an extensive sidewalk network that we need to find the sources to pay for. That is getting rid of open ditches. In a city as our size, we should not have that particular problem anymore. And there should be a way to solve it. And most importantly, how do we come up with better workforce housing, better transportation for those people that are moving to our city? If I had my wherewithal, I would look at that. I do not hold out a lot of hope that we're going to get any money from directly from the monies that were raised from All for Transportation. I have a feeling that it is going to go, as you have seen on County Commission, a project by project basis, and then we still have to go through the legislature and then finally have the governor sign it. Last year, the governor got rid of and stopped any some discretionary funding that was still available to go to different communities. Both the House Speaker and the Senate President had pushed for that, and they were asking for applications from different nonprofits and other groups. And then the governor put a kibosh on it. They got rid of it. So I don't have a lot of hope that cities in Florida and city of Tampa in particular are going to see any of that money coming from the AFT vote.
Mike, you mentioned workforce housing, which, as you know, is an area that this chamber has leaned very heavily into. We define that missing middle as 80 to 120% of area median income. Given your experience on council and obviously your platform, what zoning or policy changes would you support this go around to address those growing needs for workforce housing?
Well, we need to develop along our major transit corridors. So that means, Florida Avenue, Kennedy, Cypress to a certain extent, Dale Mabry. The problem that we have is that we don't control the roads in a lot of those areas. It's either county or state or federal highways. What we need to do is build up along those corridors in order to provide more housing. The way I would do it is find partnerships, let's say along Florida Avenue, in order to build a bus rapid transit, a real one where you have dedicated lanes, and provide for either finding those spots that are available for us and start developing it. The only way that we're going to be able to provide workforce housing in a meaningful way is to make sure that we control the transit system. And that's why I'm actually pushing for us to leave HART. Right now, we pay half of a millage point to HART as a city voter. All of us see it in our trim notices each and every year. I want us to take that money and be able to use it for projects within the city limits. Doesn't mean that we're not going to partner with HART or even use them in the short run, but it is something that we have to do now because we do not have a friendly county commission when it comes to transit issues and workforce issues, and we do not have a way of being able to pay for it ourselves. This is one of the few ways that we can do it. The old saying about, when you do something over and over again and the same result, that shows insanity. Well, I'm tired of the insanity about trying to get the county to provide a way of spending money that is significant, that is consistent, and that is targeted to the people in the city of Tampa. This is one way to do it, and I hope that we can get it done with the council and the mayor.
I want to switch gears, Mike, and talk about the idea of home rule. Local governments across the state have been critical of the legislature in recent years. Do you agree that preemption has become a problem in Tallahassee? And if so, how would you work to establish a better relationship with our legislative delegation?
Well, let's go with the second question first. I have been lobbying the legislature and Congress the entire time that I was on city council. In addition, because of my business background, I'm an independent insurance agent. I'm on the PAC board for the Florida Association of Insurance Agents. So I've developed a lot of relationships through my lobbying with my trade group. So for me, it is about talking to them about what is important. But let's face it, in state legislature, there's only three important positions. That is the governor, that is the Senate president, and that is the Speaker of the House. If they order a direction for the legislators, they will follow it. The problem that we have is that those three individuals sometimes don't even agree with each other. For me, I think that we have to continue to lobby hard on why cities and the economies that are incumbent in cities are important to the state economy as a whole. Taking shots at cities and saying that we're going to preempt you on certain issues does not help the economy in the long run. It only hurts us. As you know, we worked on, and I was one of the leaders on this, for a tree canopy to make sure we keep our city beautiful. We worked with developers, we worked with activists, we worked with the neighborhoods to find a way to do a tree ordinance that made sense, that was consistent, and was knowable by each and every party. Literally within a few weeks of us passing that, it was struck down by the legislature while I was still on council. This was probably in 2018. In addition, preemption has been talked about in terms of everything from our community redevelopment agency to whether or not we get money for transit. There's no doubt that there are some agencies, some cities and governments out in the state that don't have good leadership. And I wrote an op-ed when Speaker Corcoran was in office, who said that CRA should be eliminated because they're wasteful. I said in that op-ed that yes, if somebody is wasting taxpayer dollars, you have the power to talk to the governor and ask for that person to be removed. And I have no problem with people being removed for malfeasance and derelict of duty. I do have a problem when we are talking about those things that have no direct effect on people's lives. So I'm still very much confident in trying to talk to and convince as many legislators as possible to help us continue to serve the city of Tampa, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope.
Thank you. We mentioned housing as a priority of the chamber. Obviously, economic development is as well. The utilization of public-private partnerships continues to be an asset for local governments across the country. Mike, what opportunities for P3s do you see for Tampa?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I was serving on HART, I was chairman for 3 years, and I would go to the Association of Public Transportation across the country, and different people would have these ideas about how do you make P3s work. They work significantly well, and they did in Denver when they developed all around their Union Station, and it is primarily on transportation. The reason is because the amount of money that's there. We have opportunity zones that are created in order to get the kind of tax breaks we need to get more people to build within certain parts of our city. We need to combine that with transit and create transit-oriented developments that will bring in P3 partners so that our dollars are multiplied by tenfold, because they're bringing private dollars in. Be able to bond that and come up with the kind of project that will provide the kind of workforce housing that we need in large numbers, provide the transit that we need in order to deliver people to each and every place they need to go in the city. And thirdly, if we own the transit system and we own the transit-oriented development land, we can actually make the zoning work in favor of these type of projects. If we have all three of those, I think that we can find a lot of P3 partners that want to invest even more in Tampa. Right now, they're investing in larger buildings, but not along the corridors that we need. So my answer would be P3s are an important part of it, but we need to show that we've got our act together in order to make that happen.
I think you've given us a preview of this next topic, but let's talk about transportation.
Okay.
Uncertainty still persists with the already collected All for Transportation referendum dollars. And as you alluded to, the fate of those dollars rests in the hands of Tallahassee and the legislature. Yep. Assuming that Hillsborough is able to get those funds this legislative session, what are the most important investments you would want to see?
Well, here's the caveat to that answer, which is they're trying to restrict you into anything that is not transit related. So let's go with their viewpoint of what you spend it on. It's going to mean sidewalks. It's going to mean roads. It's going to mean the kind of projects that have typically been funded by county government, which were road projects. We need a lot more help in terms of our repaving schedule. We need a lot more help in terms of our schedule of fixing roads, potholes, and other indentations in our road. If we do not get the money to do it in the way that we want to, meaning a more extensive type of look, so that we've got more control, it's going to be very, very tough. I think that we have enough road projects to last us a lifetime. But whether or not we should use it for road projects only is the issue that we're going to have. I'm going to fight council to make sure that the legislature allows us to get the money that we put in to begin with and not restrict us based on it. If that means going to court, I think that might be a good idea. And if we can do that, I think that we'll be able to win out. However, right now it's nebulous. We don't know what's going to happen. And short of that, if we can't get the money for the transit needs that we need, and that means roads, that means sidewalks, and that does mean transportation, whether it's bus or rail, then I would ask for and push for that those money go back directly to our citizens, and then do a referendum here in the city of Tampa in order to provide the kind of transportation responses that are needed in the city.
Thank you, Mike. We've touched on several important policy positions today, but before we wrap up, is there any priority that you'd like to discuss that we haven't gotten to, or something you want to circle back to reemphasize?
Well, I think I've emphasized a lot about transportation, about workforce housing, and I'm very proud of that. Always been on the forefront of it. But one of the things that I worked on when I was on council was what they called the bathhouse ordinance. We took an old ordinance and changed it in order to fight human trafficking in massage parlors, specifically those places that would talk about offering all kinds of services that were dealing with an ordinance to allow code enforcement to go in, not police officers, but code enforcement, and that if they weren't meeting certain requirements would be fined. You have seen, probably, that a lot of the massage parlors that you used to see along Kennedy Boulevard specifically are not around anymore. And that is an effort by us from council back in 2017, 2018 to try and solve it. We need to improve the quality of life. That's one of the reasons why the large things, whether it's downtown or midtown, West Shore, it is also about neighborhoods like Hyde Park and Seminole Heights and Riverside Heights and Grant Park and Sulphur Springs and College Hill. We are not doing enough to really provide the services necessary to them, primarily because of money, but also because we don't think about it, and we do not communicate with those neighborhoods enough on city council, and we need to do more of that. I hope that, when you see this, that you will consider voting for me and supporting me. I'm at mikefortampa.com. You can send an email to me at mikefortampa@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike for Tampa, and on Facebook at Mike for Tampa.
Excellent.
So look for me. Mike for Tampa is pretty on my phone number, 813-489-9652. And the email address, the web address is Mike, MikeForTampa at mikefortampa.com. Please come out and visit me and say hi and volunteer. And if you want to give me some money, even better.
Former Councilman Mike Suarez, running for City Council District 2 Citywide. On behalf of our members, our board of directors, we want to thank you, sir, for your willingness to be with us today and for your willingness to serve in an elected office. That concludes our interview.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. I appreciate it.